Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I'm your host, Adam Cousins, and today I am joined by the problem child of our team, Mr. Dave Robinson. Dave, we have just got back from Ignite Wrestling Pro. It was a fantastic show. We crowned our first Turnbuckle champion. Most of the Turnbuckle team was there. Even Daddy Dave made an appearance at the show. Did he enjoy it as well?
He did, yeah. He loves himself some Ignite. He's never been somebody that has watched been to too many indie shows. You know, over the years when we were kids, he took us a lot to WWE shows and even WCW shows back in the day. But yeah, he's really enjoying getting into like some independent wrestling, and I think Ignite's his favorite.
Well, that's no biased here, chaps. No biased here at all. No, it's good to see. It was good to see everyone. We had a little just before we get into the matches, we did have a little bit of an issue backstage, which you may have seen on our YouTube channels. Whatever delightful Mark Trew decided to pop his head in when we was looking at contenders for for whoever won the Turnbuckle Championship, and
he's insecure about something, I think.
He's insecure about something indeed. Anyway, and you can see that on our YouTube channel if you want to. If you've got a minute and a half of your time, it's probably. I was going to be very rude at that point, but I'll leave it at that point. If you've got a minute and a half of your time to have a look at it, and you'll see. But he takes the mick out of Dave's hair. He takes the mick out of Andy, calls him Paul Heyman. Well, if that's the Mickey tag, I'm not sure if that's a compliment. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think Andy would be too upset about that one.
No, I don't. I suppose the only thing is Andy doesn't. He's not as Paul Heyman's bigger, isn't he? So maybe
Portly.
Yeah, that's the word. Well done. Anyway, look, let's get straight into it. So the first match on the card had to be changed to a single. So a couple of weeks ago, it was going to be the Rebellion versus Act 2. Act 2, unfortunately, had to pull out of this booking. These things happen in the independents. They got a booking for TNT and GCW, and they just couldn't turn it down. And Ignite, being very professional, very understanding of the situation, they couldn't say no to Act 2, not taking an opportunity. So the match unfortunately turned into a single match. It was Taylor James from the Rebellion against TK Cooper from the wonderful Sunshine Machine, and we thank TK for coming in at such short notice as well and being a part of the match. Jack, though, wasn't very happy, the other member of the Rebellion, that he didn't have a match. Got on the mic before, run down Ignite, wants a match. Maybe he'll get one in November. I don't know. This match was a real cracking start, Dave, to the show. Taylor James picks up the win with a fidget spinner, and there was a little bit of outside interference from Jack, or I suppose that's you didn't have the Mambo there from Sunshine Machine to help TK. So, but does CJ now have a bit of a problem? And we'll get into another match in a minute where we'll get alluding to this. Taylor James picks up another big win over a big independent star. Has CJ now got to start considering Taylor James in the title picture?
I think he does, to be honest with you. I think that he does see Tyler as a future Ignite champion. This was a cut above what you see on the indies at times. You know, when you see it, watch an Ignite show, it is just so professional in terms of the in-ring, the quality matches that they're putting out there every time they put on a show. And I think Taylor James is somebody that not only has got a big future in Ignite, but I think on the independent circuit as well. And who knows where that can lead to. I don't know if he has already appeared at Rev Pro and Progress, but he's somebody that I think that will be on those shows down the line. He's fidget spinner finisher as well, which I know when we spoke to him, he did borrow that from, what's the name of it? Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Matthews. Yeah, but everything's borrowed in wrestling. But the way he executes it as well, and the way that was applied, was a perfect start to the night, to be honest with you. And Jack as well at ringside. And this is something that I noticed from a lot of the competitors Ignite. From the time they step out of the curtain until the time the backstage, and even as we found with Mark Trew, that doesn't just end there. They're always on it. You know, they're always embracing their characters, and engaging with the audience. And I think the Rebellion are a team that do that a lot. You know, obviously Taylor jumped on the microphone as well when he was out there. It's a shame in some respects because I saw him. There was a nod of approval from Michael Oku after their match at Buckle Up, and I thought that Taylor might be looking at maybe a face run or thinking become more of a fan favourite. But he seems to have doubled down on his heelish ways as part of the Rebellion. But they're a really entertaining double act, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in tag team action, maybe on the next show or one coming up in the future. But I think Taylor has got a massive future in wrestling.
I don't know if he's going to take this as an insult or compliment. Jack, I see him as a cross between Ridge Holland and Axel from, do you remember Imperium when they had the
Yeah.
It's a mixture of him and Ridge Holland. I don't know if that's going to be. I'm probably going to get it in the next show that we go to in November. But that seems. I agree. Look,
his bomb bag went down well.
Yeah,
his fanny pack.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with this, and I agree with your sentiments with Taylor. I mean, obviously, we haven't seen Jack, so we can't really comment on him. We're not leaving him out on purpose. We just don't know what he's like in the ring. We've only been going to Ignite for a succession of a show, so we didn't see the Rebellion as a team, so or a Jack on his own in the ring. Will he get a single match or will he get a tag match coming up? I don't know. Discussions are taking place about a lot of things, which I'll get into in a minute. But Taylor James for me is an absolute superstar. Don't quite know if he knows how good he is himself.
Yeah, I'll get that impression as well.
But I think he's very, very good.
Yeah, there's a few. Adnois Payne, and we'll get to his match. When I spoke to him afterwards, he was kind of like, was that okay? And that was more than okay, mate. That was phenomenal in terms. And all of the wrestlers on the cards, and we've got to be honest, and if there was stuff we didn't necessarily like about the show and any criticism, then we would share it. But we're by no means experts, but we've got to give our honest opinions.
Yeah.
But I think everybody did such a fantastic job. And there's not much I didn't like, to be honest with you. So I'm interested to hear kind of your take on every match as we go and see if there was anything that I didn't notice, but I thought it went really well.
I think if anything in the first match, if anything, and this is not a criticism, but I think if this had been booked way in advance without the Act 2 issue and that match had happened, I would say maybe too much outside interference. But I think because of the nature of this was meant to be a tag, Jack's there.
Yeah.
He's got to get his stuff in. So that would have been my only criticism had this match had been booked and that was the match, other than having to change things around and trying to get somebody in. So that would have been my only thing.
Yeah, obviously with Rebellion being a team, you can't do anything really like a 2-on-1 or a triple threat or anything like that. You've got to go with the singles. And as I say, Taylor James is somebody that we know a little bit more than Jack because we haven't seen him compete yet. But in terms of what he did and his interaction with the audience, I thought he was very good. So I'm interested to see if he's as good as Taylor, because Taylor's pretty phenomenal. Got to say.
He is indeed. We don't necessarily like this guy, but this next match for me, and I've been open since the show finished, was match of the night.
Yeah,
it was Nino Bryant against our good friend Mark Trew, and he didn't stop after being backstage. He knocked your hat off again at ringside as Nino was coming.
He said he was going to kiss my dad.
He was going to kiss your dad.
That was quite disturbing.
Yeah, well, I mean, wouldn't like to see that. That's for sure. But when that bell, I mean, look, Mark Trew plays it. His character is absolutely fantastic. He plays it really, really well as well. He's from Romford, don't forget. You know, everyone doesn't like Romford by the sounds of it, Borehamwood. It's not far from me. But when that bell went off, them two went at it. This match. If someone had said to me, if I'd been watching that on Main Event or on NXT, or it didn't look out of place on a big show, and that is the compliment I can give both Nino and Mark. Their work in this match was absolutely outstanding. The only thing I didn't particularly, well, not that I didn't like, but the only thing was that after Nino won at the end, Mark Trew low blows him, hits him with a chair a load of times, goes to try and injure his knee. We're not sure on the extent of Nino's injury and whether that's going to keep him out of November yet. But he's having some medical checks on his leg. As he then puts his leg in between the chair, and as he goes to hit on it, the returning Tommy Kyle makes the save, which thankfully makes the save to stop any further injury to Nino. The end bit aside, Dave, and before you have your feelings on the ending, the match itself was incredible.
It was. It was, and you said it best really by saying that could have appeared on NXT if you'd have tuned into Impact or anywhere else and saw that match. It wouldn't have been out of place at all. They're such both talented guys. They're both young as well. I mean, I'm not sure what their ages are, but they're early 20s at the absolute. So the sky's the limit in terms of their career in wrestling. I think Mark's character work, he's really established that he's such a great heel. The fans love to boo him, but he's funny as well. You know, there's some levity there in his performances, and just a perfect independent wrestler for me, and somebody that Ignite are lucky to have. Don't get me wrong, he's lucky to have Ignite as well. It works both ways.
It does.
But I think Mark Trew is someone that they see a lot in, and will be seeing a lot more of him on future shows. In terms of the injury, and it was Tommy Kyle, you say, the guy returning. I loved when he called Mark Trew Marcus Truford. I thought that was quite funny. And obviously setting up a match probably at Curtain Call for November, which I've never seen Tommy Kyle, not familiar with his work, but I thought he spoke really well. I think to say that he hasn't been out there and he's been injured, I believe.
Double leg injury, wasn't it? ACL.
Yeah. So for him to come back and look so he didn't look out of place at all. He slipped right back into where I presume he was doing before, and that sets up a great match. Mark Trew, as much as he's a bellend, sorry Abby, when it comes to what he can do between those ropes, he's a really talented performer. So maybe a bit of an attitude adjustment he needs, and perhaps Tommy Kyle's the man to do that job.
I will see Tommy in a couple of weeks. He's appearing at Jurassic Pro Wrestling up here, and I'm going to the second anniversary show in Harwich. Tickets are available if you haven't already got them. Go into Jurassic Pro Wrestling, and you better get them there. So I'll be seeing him there. Like you've never seen him before. Very highly thought of by CJ Carter and the team at Ignite. So if CJ thinks highly of him, then I would obviously think highly of him as well. So, but I'll see him in a couple of weeks, and we'll obviously see him at Curtain Call against Marcus Truford. And I wonder if he's got any more words for us next time. Andy will be there next time.
You think he just needs to rest his mouth for a few days now, and just sit in a dark room and stop irritating everybody? But...
No, he's got no chance of getting a title shot at this rate. If he can't, he's got to pick up some wins to get some title shot. But I mean, the match itself,
that would be a living nightmare for us if he started to edge his way into the HTTB title scene and as a potential future champion. That would be pretty gruesome for us to have to talk to him on a regular basis. So yeah, let's hope he stays away from that title.
But the match itself was absolutely unbelievable. I kudos to both guys. Look, whatever we think of Mark Trew, those two tore the absolute
and Nino as well. What you know, we spent a lot of time talking about Mark, but Nino is just sensational. Obviously he's a local lad, and the audience there, that, you know, there's a lot of loyal fans that go to each and every show, and Nino is definitely popular with the crowd. Obviously he's a young lad, and he's still filling out and bulking up. But again, wouldn't surprise me down the line if he's somebody that we've seen get snapped up to an NXT Europe contract, or, you know, I think the sky's the limit for those guys. So it depends how seriously they are about their wrestling, and whether it's something they want to do for a living, or whether it's something they want to do as a hobby. But the way they carry themselves, the effort they put in, the planning that goes into all elements of their character, their ring gear, their performances, I would be encouraging them to kind of shoot for the stars, and they could make a very good living off wrestling based on their talent alone. It's not all about talent, and you need a little bit of luck. But some of those guys, you know, they're much more well connected with people than us. But if they could get on bigger shows in the UK, if they could go over to Japan, the States, Canada, Germany, there's a lot of wrestling, you know, worldwide. They can get their names out there, and I'm sure they'll have long, successful careers in wrestling.
Absolutely. Talking of somebody who was in Germany the match 3 of the card took a lot of people by surprise at ringside when they said the next match was for the Ignite Heavyweight Championship. If you looked at a few faces, they were like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It was Corey Mcrae and Gene Munney. Corey had literally hours before this got off a flight. He was in Germany wrestling on the Saturday, Berlin, I believe, and he come back to the UK. I think he got in about 8 o'clock in the morning. He went back to Harwich in Essex, which is about an hour and a half away. Got the stuff ready, come back over to Boreham Wood for showtime, and kudos to him for doing that trip. It would have been not a lot of sleep. I think he said he had 4 hours sleep since Thursday, but obviously you're talking about people being committed to the calls and taking the wrestling seriously, and Corey is definitely one of those guys. Him and Gene Munney I would class it as like this classic face heel indie wrestling style match. Gene, the comedy value on him is exceptional. Corey Mcrae is the very serious side of his, the serious side of his game is when the bell goes off, and they delivered a really good, solid semi-main event on this card, or the main event for the first half of the show. Little bit of shenanigans. Corey had to low blow and hit Gene with the title to pick up the victory. To hit Gene with his title, not Corey's title. So Gene's got a title. Corey hit him over the head with that, picked up the win, hit his finisher, picked up the win. Again, it was after that we got a bit more. So Gene had challenged Corey to a rematch in November, but the stakes are now even higher. So it's title for title. And if Corey Mcrae wins the match in November, Gene Munney can never fight at Boreham Wood in Shenley Road, wrestle for Ignite ever again. Stakes are high, but Dave, the match itself was, again, really good main event of the first half of the show.
Yeah, and I've got to say this in terms of where they didn't main event the show, they main evented the first half.
Yeah.
But that just shows the team spirit that's there, because in other companies, the champion and the challenger might be a little bit put out that they're not in the main event.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show how much of a team they are there. That they had 2 main events and there was 2 titles, and we were establishing a new title, and that for me was rightfully in the main event. Now come Kurt and Corey, I'm sure that Gene and Corey will be in the main event. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, that's where your world title match is.
Yeah.
But I've got to say that there was absolutely no problem. There was no egos. There was no complaints. There was no trying to pull rank or anything like that. So the crowd got 2 sensational main events, one at the end of the first half, one at the end of the second half. This match was great, and it told a really good story. As you say, Gene is definitely a character, and he's very funny. And actually, I really enjoyed the comedy element, and when he came out and jumped into the ring. But as the match went on, he got more and more serious.
Yeah.
And the comedy disappeared, and he knew he was in a fight with Corey. Corey is a tough competitor. His kicks look pretty lethal. But Gene knew at the end of it that perhaps he hadn't taken it as seriously as perhaps he needed to. So when he came on the mic and he said, right, I'm putting everything on the line here. I want that rematch. And there was a cloud of, there was, in terms of the low blow and hitting with the belt. So he justifiably gets his rematch. But I think we might see a different side of Gene Munney going into Curtain Call. Perhaps we'll still get the presentation and his outfits and his dog collar. But I think when that bell rings, Gene Munney will be all about business and all about trying to dethrone Corey. And I'm sure he wants to be the next Ignite World Champion.
I agree with that. Corey's now had the title for over a year, so he's the Ignite version of Roman Reigns, shall we say, or the Gunther, depending on the way you want to look at it. It will be an interesting match. That has been agreed to. I think CJ mentioned it on the show. It has been agreed, that match, and it should main event, from what I hear. Curtain Call, that will be the main event, and I think it's fitting. You've got so much on the line in that particular match that it's kind of got to be the main event of the show.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Long term, that's great. They get their main event slot, and the world title is more or not in the main event. The triple threat headline buckle up. But I think it was the perfect choice to position it where it was. Mm-hmm. And the fans just win there. They get 2 main events instead of 1.
Yeah.
You know, and no ill feeling backstage. And that's what I will say, spending a little bit of time with the crew and with the guys. It's such a great feel. It does. It really sounds like a cliche, but there is a real family feel, particularly with all the regulars, and they make anybody new that hasn't featured for Ignite before very welcome when they come in.
Yeah.
And it's a great setup they've got there. And long may it continue.
Yeah, exactly that. There was a little interval at that stage, and people going to ring and had their pictures with both belts and some of the wrestlers that's turned by. When it come back, we're talking. You know, we spoke about the high stakes of the Corey Mcrae match, the match that come back off the break, and it's usually quite a difficult place to be on a card when you've had that interval and it's trying to get the people back. These girls absolutely left it all in the ring. It was Chemera versus Aluna Blue in a no DQ match. So the story was way back at the bitter end in April. Kira beat Aluna, used a bat to beat her, but she won the match. Luna beat our good buddy, good friend Artemis, who I'll be talking to later, buckle up, and Kira come back out and laid out Aluna again with the bat. Aluna was so outraged by it, they said buckle up. But backstage, she said to CJ, she wants this to end, and you needed to have it in a no DQ match because she wants to be able to use a weapon as well. And my word, I mean, they used, what was it? They used the baking tray shot to the head of that in that match was what absolutely horrific. It sounded awful. And it was I mean, literally that was thrown with some velocity, but it wasn't just that. We had mops, we had buckets, we had wet floor signs, we had trash cans, we had chairs, and we had tables. These girls left it absolutely all in the ring. Aluna picks up a big win on this, and she will carry on to a next phase in November. Opponent to be confirmed, I believe. But Dave, from a women's no DQ match, and we're highlighting a women's division. If anybody, even if the the guys in the bigger leagues want to see how to highlight a women right, watch that.
Yeah, again, a difficult position to be in straight after the break, and after the crowd have kind of had that break, you've got to try and get them up again. And also in a very family-friendly atmosphere. So you're going into a no DQ match, and you've got a lot of families and kids there. So you've got to be careful to toe the line and not get too graphic or blood or anything like that. So I thought they did an excellent job. I think Aluna gets better and better every time I see her perform. I think her selling has really improved, particularly after the trash can spine buster that she took, which looked, I didn't fancy that. There's been times when I've been watching wrestling of late where I've thought, maybe when my back issues are sorted, maybe I could go for a bit of training and step into the ring. And then I watch stuff like that and I go, yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'll stay on this side of the microphone. But I think Aluna is somebody that really is like a sponge. All of the advice that she's given, all of the matches that she has, she absorbs all the information, any kind of feedback she gets from her opponents, any feedback she gets from the likes of CJ, and she does implement that in her next matches. She's a fan favorite. The crowd absolutely love her. And and that's not just the younger kids, that's the adults too. Everybody was really in her corner cheering her on. I think Chemera as well, somebody, a lot of interaction with the crowd, and somebody who is defining her character, and I think she's great as well. I think this was a real home run for Ignite, and it just, as you say, it really does show what you can achieve when you put the faith in them, when you give them the time, when you give them the story. And another night, if we didn't have two title matches on the card, this could have main evented. So yeah, I was really pleased for both girls that this went so well.
Yeah, me too. Considering I knew her well. I don't know if you were there at the point. Luna was very nervous going into this match anyway. She'd never done a match like this before.
Okay, I know, I didn't know that. Yeah,
but Luna's first big sort of no DQ. She not long. Put it this way, she had a good taster of kind of not like necessarily a no DQ match, but I think the week before she took on Connor Mills. So if you wanted to kind of know how someone hits hard, she was in good hands in that sense. With Connor Mills, but this was brilliant for both competitors, and wonderful match. The breakout division was next. And this is where we had Adonis Payne against Remi. And Remi, apologies for this, I can't pronounce your last name. I don't want to insult you, so I'm just going to call you Remi. Before actually this match was before this match come on, I was looking through social media, and Remi's taken on Michael Oku I think this week, I think Friday.
Yeah. What a match that'll be.
So I was like, wow, like, you know, because obviously, again, I never knew. I've never seen Remi compete before. I've seen Adnois Payne before, but as a team with Artemis, the Odyssey, the tag team, I saw them at Jurassic as a team. So I've never seen Adnois on his own. This match for me, there was a couple of bits. There was a couple of little slips, but they when you're doing the high flying stuff, it's high risk for a reason. Sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes they don't quite work. But
yeah,
this match was absolutely brilliant for a match that just come on. So you've got a bit of pressure because you're going on after that killer women's match. You've seen Nino and Trew tear the place down, and then you've got to like kind of get the fans ready for the main event. And not only did they do that, Adnois Payne picks up the victory and goes through to the final in November. There's a fatal four-way final in November for the Breakout tournament. The winner gets a title shot whenever they want it. And not only that, you know how good Remi, and I was blown away by Remi, by the way, absolutely blown away. And you can tell how good somebody is when it's their debut and as they're walking to the back, because we were going out the back at this time as well. We were heading off because we were going to present the Turnbuckle Championship. We'll get into that in a minute. And everyone's chanting to Remi, please come back. That is the biggest compliment on your debut that you can receive.
Yeah, I'd 100% love to see Remi as part of the Ignite roster and somebody that I hope CJ can snap up. Love to see him on the next show. Love to see him again in the future. The match with Michael Oku. What company is that for?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to kind of see that if possible, if it ends up on YouTube. But this was brilliant. And same, a couple of minor slip-ups. There was a spot towards the end when I don't know if Remi was not in the right position or wasn't expecting it. I don't know. You know, I wouldn't assign blame to anything. As you say, sometimes with these high-risk manoeuvres, they can go a little bit wayward and timing has to be perfect. But you kind of commend the guys for doing those moves, so I would never criticize them for anything like that. No. I thought this was an excellent match up there with the Trew Nino match for me. I could have watched these guys go at it, you know, for a lot longer, and I'm sure down the line they will have an opportunity, and Remi will have an opportunity to kind of get a victory back. But great match, and again, there wasn't a poor match on the card, but there really wasn't. But you know, when you've got people looking at these shows and wanting to be a part of Ignite, they can see the standard that they've got to be at to really put on these performances. And I think that's got to be quite a daunting thing for new wrestlers walking into Ignite, but also such a rewarding thing for them to be rubbing shoulders with the guys that are putting on these shows every few months and getting the opportunities to face them. Really kind of elevates everybody. So I love this. I thought it was a great match, and I'd like to see Remi back soon.
Me too. Just as you mentioned, Remi and Michael Oku, it is Purpose Wrestling over in Wimbledon at the Merton Arts Space, I want to say. It's Friday the 6th of October. It's a couple of weeks away yet. Friday the 6th of October. Remi will take on Michael Oku, who is probably the best British wrestler in the world. Best wrestler in Britain at the moment. He will not look out of place in that match.
No. Remi up against Taylor James in the future, or up against Nino in the future, or Corey. You could see all of those matches being show stealers. Love to see him challenge for the Hitting the Turnbuckle title that one day down the line. It'd be somebody that, you know, definitely would be a worthy opponent for our new champion that we'll get onto.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, he would certainly be a worthy competitor. Obviously needs to settle into Ignite, win a couple of matches and put himself into the picture, but certainly someone who I'd love to have, I love our champion to have a match with somewhere down the line. Dave, I want to ask you a question, because this next bit, you know, we obviously at Hitting the Turnbuckle, we are a massive team, and myself and Andy presented the belt Buckle Up, and Sunday was more to give Dave the opportunity because we wanted to thank him for the stuff that he does here. We as part of the main event, we come out with CJ Carter. We basically we didn't introduce the main event, but we were in the ring as the wrestlers come out, and Dave went around to the guys and let them look at the title like the referee normally would. First, before we get into the main event, how was that experience for you?
Right, it was great. I loved getting in there alongside you and not only showing the belt to the competitors, taking it around the four sides of the ring and showing the audience what was on the line, and the new title for the company that they love that's going to be defended at every show going forward, I would imagine. So great experience for me. I haven't spent too much time in a wrestling ring. I spent a lot of time watching people in wrestling rings. So to switch that role on Sunday was a great experience for me. We got some good pictures as well in there with Smashing Mike before the match started.
Yeah.
Just a great experience. We really welcomed. We didn't, it wasn't like we felt that we shouldn't be doing it. The guys kind of welcomed us with open arms, and thought it was a good thing for us to do, to be able to introduce the title. And you had a little go on the mic as well, which was a great experience for you as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. I always love to get on the mic to say hello to the audience and to introduce the match. I didn't want to spend too long. I didn't want to take too much time away from the guys that are warming up out the back and getting ready to go. So it was just a quick thank you. And as I said on the mic, let's get this party started. And
Sunset Skip does a great job at that, and he's the MC over at Ignite, and he's going to be appearing on the podcast coming up soon.
He is.
And also a shout out to Nick, the ref, as well, because he worked his butt off on Sunday. 6 matches, a lot to remember. We underestimate the fitness of the referees at times, keeping up with these guys in and out the ring. Yeah, I thought Nick is a great referee, and he did a great job for Ignite once again on Sunday.
I think Rachel put a picture of it where at one point he was getting kicked by Corey, and the next minute he was sweeping up after the women's no DQ match after the table.
He definitely puts a shift in.
He puts a shift in. He earns his stripes, no pun intended. Turnbuckle title. We obviously wanted it to be 3 of the hardest workers. You're pointing to it at the picture there. We wanted it to be some of the 3 of the hardest workers in wrestling in the British UK scene. Lance Revera, George Lydon, Smashing Mike. A triple threat match for the title. Had everything. Had absolutely everything. The crowd was into this. They wanted Mike to win this match badly, and you could tell from the start of that match, from the moment he come out of that curtain, they were in on Mike winning this match. George and Lance, what a 2 great competitors they were as well. George high flying, that spot, the somersault spot,
the 450.
I thought he'd land on his neck. I saw some of the sort of health and safety crew was running out of the curtain. I'm thinking, oh my god, not our match.
Yeah.
No, not any match.
Not any match.
But you know what I mean. Not please. He's not injured, surely, and lucky enough, he bounced back up and continued on the match. But the crowd got their wish. The smashing one, as part. Although Stacey Lance Rivera's valet did try and get involved, as she did. She ate a super kick before Mike hit his finisher, and Lance picks up the win and becomes our first ever hitting the turnbuckle champion. Richly deserved. The work that guy puts in. If you've got him on socials, the guy doesn't sleep. He's in a ring. He's doing in the gym. He's doing stuff. And you sort of mentioned it, Dave, where you say that they're everywhere, and the amount of work they put in. You only got to look at him, the likes of him and Aluna on Facebook. When we get like, independent companies posting their stuff on social. This match is coming up. This match is coming up. How many times do you see Aluna or Mike on a card?
Yeah, 2 of the most hard-working wrestlers, but you could say that for a lot of the guys at Ignite.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This was like George Lydon. What a talent he is. Yeah. I've been lucky to see him a couple of times lately down at BCCW and at Ignite. He has got, just like some of the other guys that we mentioned earlier, he's got such a career in wrestling. He's such a talented guy at just 20 years old, I think he is.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. He's got no right to be that good at that age. He shouldn't think he's had time to get that good. I don't know when he started wrestling, but he's taken to it like a duck to water. This was the perfect way to close out, which was a great show. For as much as the audience love to hate Mark Trew, they love to love Smashing Mike.
Yes.
Everybody's on their feet when he comes out. He brings such an energy to his appearances and to his performances. I think a rightful champion, somebody that was unlucky to miss out on the Ignite Championship back at Buckle Up.
Yeah.
So to be given this opportunity to win the hitting the Turnbuckle title and become the first champion, I'm sure he's incredibly proud. He was having pictures with some family and friends after the match as well.
Yeah.
And it meant a hell of a lot to him to become their first champion, and he's richly deserved.
Exactly. It means a hell of a lot to us too, as well.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Mike. Defend that title with pride. I'm sure that you will. Your first title defense will be on Sunday, November the 12th, at Ignite Wrestling Pro's Curtain Call 2. We will be there. Andy will be returning as well, I believe. I think he's coming tonight. I think he said he bought his ticket yesterday, so we'll be there. Junior Buckle, my side, will be making his Ignite debut. No, he's not wrestling, but he will be as part of the Team Buckle. He'll be having his shirt on. He will be repping Team Buckle on that day as well. Guys, tickets for Curtain Call have already started. Bless you, Dave, if you're going to sneeze. Already started flying out of the traps. I think they're nearly sort of getting close to halfway already. I mean, the fronts are very limited, second rows are extremely limited. So get yourself to Eventbrite, get onto it, search Ignite Wrestling Pro Curtain Call 2, get your tickets soon, because what's going to be announced in the next few weeks will definitely be blowing those tickets open again, and we'll have a lot more tickets will be sold once some more matches have been announced. But what has been announced for Curtain Call 2 already, the debut of Nina Samuels, who's another belt collector over in the UK. She's won title after title over here. She's a fantastic wrestler. She'll be making her Ignite debut. As will Tommy Kyle be returning, as we know now. He's taking on Mark Trew in his match. Joe Lando returns as well to the show in November. Corey Mcrae versus Gene Munney. We've already said the high stakes match. That will be on the show too. Smashing Mike will be defending his title. We need to have a chat with CJ about who's going to be in that match. Dave and then Andy and Rachel will all be involved in that. And we'll be having a chat with CJ over the coming weeks to kind of finalize those plans. And that will be announced, obviously, in due course. So it's all set up to be a great November, Dave, at Ignite at Curtain Call. Yeah,
I can't wait for it. You know, they perhaps we've heard that AEW are going to be adding more pay-per-views to their already. I think they do 4 or 5 a year, and they're adding to that. So I'm hoping in the future Ignite we'll have the opportunity to add more shows, because there's plenty of talent in the UK. We've seen it showcased at events like Gold Rush, and I can't wait to see them step back into the ring. It'd be interesting to see who his first defense is against. Obviously, we know who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Mark Trew, which I'm happy about.
He's busy.
Yeah, he's going to have a great match, I'm sure, as he did last week. So be interesting, Gene Munney coming back, and as I say, stepping into the main event with his last opportunity, really. If he doesn't win the title, then we're not going to see him at Boreham Wood again down the line. So there's high stakes. It'd be interesting to see if we get Aluna Blue as well on the show, coming off the back of her big win, and that's finished the story with Chemera. So it'd be interesting to see what direction she goes in as well. So yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to chatting with CJ and getting his thoughts on the show. But from our point of view, it was phenomenal. Couldn't have gone any better.
Couldn't have gone any better. Couldn't agree more. We keep mentioning finishing the story is quite relevant in wrestling these days. So
yeah,
Luna got to do it before Cody in this particular, guys. But guys, Dave, thanks for your time. Ignite, CJ, thanks for your hospitality on Sunday. It was wonderful to see you guys again. It was wonderful to meet up all the guys that we spoke to, everyone that showed up, and especially the fans. Thank you so much for attending that show. We saw a couple of kids with the Buckle shirts on. Keep them coming as the shows progress. But we really do. We call it home at Ignite for a reason, and the reason is your hospitality and your shows you put on are fantastic. But then any other independent promotions or wrestlers want to come on, have a chat, please do. DMs are open. Just give us a message and we'll be happy to support you guys. But this has been the Gold Rush review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. He has been the problem child, Dave Robinson. I have been your host, Adam Cousins. Until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.